Q&A. Someone's asking TCI on a 19.6. You're about a day early. So, because it depends on the machine you're using, but most of the time when I'm talking about this stuff, I'm talking about IDEX, because that's what you typically see in a vet's office, or an Imulite 3000, which is what a lab would use, but they work the same way. So, on an IDEX, we would do a vaginal AI on a 15. A day later for TCI would be around a 25. And just while we're talking about numbers here, another one that's pretty popular, the one that we sell, the Fine Care machine. On the Fine Care, we do our first AI something around a 17, and that would correspond to something around a 30 for TCI. And just put one more up there while we're doing this. Got a different color pen. Another one that you see quite a bit is a mini Vitus. Mini Vitus, much higher numbers. 28.5 for a vaginal on a mini Vitus, and something around a 45 for a TCI. Okay, so that's the first one. Next question. Blood discharge on day 45. Are asking what's going on. Should they be concerned? Well, anytime you've got a discharge with a pregnant dog, you know, it's a reason for concern. So a very frequent thing to see happen is the mucus plug. So the mucus plug is kind of a slimy, snotty looking material that you'll see hanging off the back end of your dog, or you may see it on the bedding, you may see it when the dog's been out to pee. And the mucus plug is not of any concern at all. This is just basically some material that naturally occurs on the cervix to block the cervix, and as the cervix dilates, as you get closer to the time for whelp, the cervix dilates and the plug falls out, and you see this kind of slimy looking material. It can have some blood in it, so it looks kind of a brownish in color. It might be a snotty looking color. But if you've got a continuous discharge that keeps on going, that's of much more concern. So the first thing is take the dog's temperature. Always 102 or higher or above is of concern, and that's the point that you want to get your vet involved, because you've got to be worried about something like a uterine infection like pyometria. So as long as the temperature is like, normal temperature of dogs 100.5 to 101.5. If you're seeing those temperatures, I wouldn't get too worried about it. But if you've got temperatures above 102 or higher, I would get concerned about it. All right, that's done and that's done. Enema. Someone's talking about their dogs aren't pooping, they give it an enema and it poops. Continue doing the enema. You can give up to 3 times a day, give an enema. So the downside on doing enemas is you can get the dog used to only pooping when it has an enema. But look, if a dog gets really backed up, the right answer is to give an enema. You've got to get the dog unconstipated. And then you have to think about, why is the dog constipated? So one of the things is, if you're bottle feeding, it could be that you're not putting enough water in with the formula, and it's too thick, and because of that, the dog's getting dehydrated. One way to find out if a dog's dehydrated is to lift the skin up on the back of the neck and let it go. If it stays tented up for a few seconds, that dog is dehydrated. If it falls back quickly, the dog's fine. Someone's asking about a easy whelp, and they want to use our heater on a 38 by 38 easy whelp. So what you've got here is your easy whelp looking from above. This thing is 38 inches on both sides, and there's different versions of this. Some of the easy whelps have a solid floor in them. Great, not a problem. You can take our product and you can stick the tape directly underneath where the pig rail would be, and it'll adhere to it. Some of these easy whelps and Dura whelps have a fabric or a vinyl floor. And in those situations, you want to go get a sheet of what's called coroplastic. Coroplastic. And you can buy an 8-foot sheet of that at Home Depot is the best place. At Home Depot. And that thing's about, I think, about $20 for a sheet of that. It's a kind of a vinyl corrugated material. You can cut it with a box knife. And basically you can make your own floor that fits inside the easy whelp. So you basically take this coroplastic material and cut you a piece. I like to cut it a bit bigger and fold the sides up so I make a tray. But you put that floor in there. And then you stick our heat tape to the bottom of that, and it works great. So that fixes that problem. Someone sent some information that apparently there's an outfit called the California Cleft Palate Rescue. So typically, if you have a cleft palate puppy, they're very hard to get those dogs to the point where they can have surgery to fix the cleft, and typically they have to be tube fed, and typically they don't make it. Well, apparently these people will take the dog in. You forfeit the dog, but they'll look after the dog and get it to health. So don't know anything about them, but there you go. Somebody's talking about their dog has one copy of DM. So this is on a 4-panel test. One of the checks for is DM. In a French Bulldog, DM is although it can be present, it does not cause a problem. So a dog that has a French Bulldog that has a copy of DM, I would not be concerned about at all. Folic acid, I've been talking about folic acid. Give folic acid because it stops some of the birth defects. They want to know if it should be used for all pregnancies and all dogs. And the answer is yes. So we like to give 5 milligrams a day. That pen doesn't work worth a crap. I'll just throw that one away. 5 milligrams a day of folic acid from the moment that you've AI'd the dog until it has puppies, 5 milligrams of folic acid. And I don't see anything that tells me that you should reduce that amount for smaller dogs versus larger dogs, though it would make sense. So if you've got some questions about the exact dosage, you might look at that. For instance, if you had a Chihuahua that weighs 2 pounds, I think you would probably need, maybe something in the order of 1 milligram per day. And watch out, when you buy folic acid, it's either in milligrams or it's in micrograms. So you'll see a lot of formulas that have 800 micrograms. That is equivalent to 0.8 of a milligram. It's not very much. So I had somebody the other day showed me a bottle they were going to give for Frenchies. It was 800 micrograms, and they want to know how much to give. And it's six of those tablets. You have a hard time getting a dog to swallow 6 tablets. Throw that away or put that in the drawer and go buy the 5 milligram version. On Amazon, two bottles of 5 milligram tablets right now is like $12. That's 200 tablets for $12. So it's dirt cheap. So I would go ahead and not try to get a dog to swallow a huge number of tablets. I would just go buy the more concentrated formula. I get this one quite a bit. Why not breed naturally? Why would we go through the process of doing an artificial insemination on a dog? Well, there's a number of reasons. The first one is that you avoid any sexual contact. So avoid contact. And that can be an issue because there are sexually transmitted diseases like brucellosis and canine herpes virus, kennel cough. You can avoid all those things if the dogs are not in physical contact. The second thing is that some of these dogs have a hard time getting hooked up naturally. Frenchies are an example of this. And so all French Bulldogs that we breed, we always do an AI. The problem with the Frenchies is because of their heights, they just don't get hooked up. And what typically happens, the male gets exhausted and maybe he just kind of squirts his sample on the ground and it never gets in the dog. So that's another reason. The third reason is you can control the whole process. You know exactly when it's happening. And if you're doing progesterone tests, you can control the whole process. The fourth thing is the dogs may be in different places, different locations. And so obviously in that situation, you can control the process by doing an artificial insemination, which means that you can have it shipped. And of course, that's what we do a lot of. And we have a product called ShipMate specifically for that. So there you go. That's that one. How long is it too long to wait on a C-section? So this is a situation where you think you should have had a C-section a couple of days ago and the dog is still not showing any signs that labor is imminent, and you're getting very worried because you're worried that you're kind of what you call overcooking the dogs, that the placentas will start to deteriorate and the dogs will be in trouble. So there's a couple of things to think about. First off is the reason for a late C-section. Why are you in this situation where you're 2, 3, 4 days past your first date for a C-section? Typically, it's a small or a single puppy litter. And the reason that it's happened is that you AI'd the dog early. And because of that, remember, so let's just talk a little bit about when would you expect a dog to go into a whelp? Because this is the very, very important part here. And this is something that lots and lots of people are not aware of, including vets. As crazy as it seems. But basically, from LH surge you'd expect whelp to be about 65 days. These days we don't detect L8 surge, so then we can go off ovulation, which is 2 days later. So off ovulation, we'd expect it to be 63 days. And since we typically breed 2 days after ovulation from AI, we'd expect it to be 61 days. And these all end up at the same place. They all end up at the day that the dog would naturally go into labor, approximately. This can vary by a few days, a day or two anyway. But the point here is, if you, obviously you're not going to do this deliberately, but if you AI'd early, let's say that we AI'd a day before ovulation without realizing it, then this would apparently be 64 days for this point. And so since you're measuring your 63 days, this puts you out here by about 3 days late. And because of that, you're in a panic, but this was actually the right day to do a C-section. And if you did the C-section here, you're likely to lose puppies or lose that puppy. So back to the question, how long is it too long to wait on a C-section? I can't give you a definitive answer on that because you don't know exactly where you are. But my advice to you is this, is look for the signs that that whelp is due within 48 hours. So let's just run over those really quickly. And I've done lots of videos on this, but I'm just going to reiterate it because it's such an important point. So what would you expect? First thing is temperature drops, temp is below 99.0. Puppies within 24 hours. The complete loss of appetite, not eating anything, loss of appetite. Puppies within 24 hours. Nesting. Hasn't been doing any nesting, all of a sudden starts doing nesting, typically puppies within 12 hours. And then heavy panting, typically beginning stages of labor, and puppies within about 6 hours, approximately. And then, of course, the last thing is, if you're unsure about this, you do a progesterone test, and the PG number needs to be something around. If it's a singleton puppy, you can go a bit higher, 3.5. But typically the number is 3 to 3.30 to 3.5. That is the one that you're really pretty safe. It's not always safe, but you're normally pretty safe. So look, the problem is you don't necessarily get all these good signals, and you don't necessarily get every single one of them. So you don't have to necessarily have all of these things in a row. But if I had a dog that was 3 or 4 days past when I thought the AI should happen, and all of a sudden it starts to do some nesting, heavy nesting, never done it before, I would certainly go get a PG done. If the PG was close to 3 or 3.5, I'd go take those puppies. All right, here we go. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Thanks for watching the video. I really appreciate people who subscribe to me. It helps me, encourage me to do more of these videos. But do remember, disclaimer here, I am not a vet. I'm not a licensed medical professional. I'm purely a person who's been breeding dogs for the last couple of decades. Any information that you got from this video, use at your own risk. There's nothing implied here, and certainly this should not be used as a substitute for advice from your veterinarian or your medical professional. I hope you enjoyed the video. Come back for more of them. Bye.